Swing and a drive.
Welcome to Red, White, and Blue Jays, the podcast home of Blue Jays Fans UK, a group connecting Blue Jays fans around the UK and beyond, and telling their story. And now, here's the host of Red, White, and Blue Jays, Steve Hunter.
Hi guys, welcome to another edition of Red, White and Blue Jays. I hope you're doing well, having a good week, enjoying all the spring training games that are currently on. It's amazing, isn't it? 5 o'clock in the afternoon, love it, end of the day, come home from work, get a beer, watch a bit of baseball. Can't be anything better than that. Well, I had a joy of catching up with a good friend of mine through our Facebook group, Jenni. It was fab to hear her little story of how she became a Jays fan and hear all about the things that she's getting up to living now in Canada. So I hope you enjoy this one with Jenni.
The podcast home of Blue Jays Fans UK. You're listening to Red, White, and Blue Jays.
Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of Red, White and Blue Jays. Great to have you with us. One of the things I love doing on this pod is I get to chat to all sorts of people. We've had everybody that I can think of that I've had some sort of contact with so far. And it's been real fun talking to people like Ben Wagner, who's in spring training and doing all the professional stuff, as well as talking to fans who just love watching baseball. And that's why I'm here. And that's what I love doing. So it's a really warm welcome to a good friend of mine who I've got to know a little bit over Facebook, in our Facebook group over the last couple of years. But Jenni, welcome to Red, White and Blue Jays. Great to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, no, absolute pleasure. Now, I know not everybody's in the Facebook group, so they may not all know a little bit about you. So we've got lots of people on Twitter and stuff who may not have heard of you. Just give us a little five-second sort of précis of what you're doing in life, what's happening in your world at the moment, all that sort of stuff. That would be great.
Yeah, for sure. You can probably tell from the accent, I'm English. I was born in Hammersmith, actually, in West London, and grew up in Surrey. And in 2014, I moved to Canada, Toronto specifically. My mum is Canadian, so I've always had dual nationality, which is obviously a gift. And that's why I decided to do it, just to use that gift and see if I liked it. And I certainly did. And I'm still here and no plans to return.
Wow. So is your mum still in the UK then? Or
he's still in the UK. My brother, who was born here in Canada, I'm in Canada now, is also in the UK. My dad, who's English, is in the UK, and I'm the only one here.
That's so, and yeah, absolutely, it's a gift, because I know many people. In fact, I was only speaking to somebody yesterday about we tried to move to Canada, probably about 2014, somewhere around there. We sort of looked into it and tried to get the visa points together and all that sort of stuff. And I think unless you've got family or you've got a job to go to, it's really hard to get up that points ladder. And we just couldn't make it work. So it never happened. So in 2014 then, so what led you up to that point then, in terms of, hey, I'm going to give this a go? Had you traveled to Canada before? I mean, presumably you had been over before.
It's funny, actually, I'd forgotten this until you just asked that question, but I was thinking about moving to the States. I wanted to mix stuff up. I wanted to try something else. I was tired of the London grind. Like, I love London, but it's a rough go, and there's only so many rail replacement services and all these other things that you can do every day. And it's like, I'd love to try something else. So I was looking at the States and talking about hard to get into. The States is hard to get into. And I'd never really considered Toronto, and I was here for a wedding in 2013. Good family friends of ours, their daughter, who's roughly the same age as me, got married, and I flew over for the party and had the best night, and ended up meeting people my age and going out to a club, and was just like, this city is awesome. I'm going to do it. And a year later, almost to the day, I did it.
And you just literally came on your own, or have you got family there that you could sort of connect with, or with how did that all work?
Yeah, I have. My mum's sister is still here, and she has 2 kids. And so my cousins are here as well. So there is a few people here. My brother is also my half brother, and his dad's side of the family are all here as well. But I came on my own. I cried the whole way. like on the plane, just cried the whole way. I think just, what am I doing? Is this a good idea? And then, got here. And I mean, any of you who've been to Canada, you know how welcoming everyone is. So
Sure.
it didn't take long to feel happy. I didn't have a job.
Right.
So I work in advertising.
Okay.
And I figured it was fairly transferable. So I quit my job at home and came and just kind of met people, networked, looked for contacts, and got a job, I think, a month later, funny enough, through English contacts. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, because I think trying to find jobs, particularly, when we were looking from this side of the Atlantic across into Canada and trying to sell yourself across the pond, as it were, is really hard, isn't it? And actually, I guess being there and asking those questions and connecting with people certainly helps. And so presumably because of your passport status, you're literally straight in, you've got residency, all those sort of things guaranteed, which of course is the big thing if you haven't got that status.
Yeah, I reached out to, I can't even remember, like immigration or something, and said, I'm coming. And they're like, okay.
Yeah.
But they didn't need anything from me. And they're like, no, you just turn up and don't leave. Like, it's
That's
fine.
Amazing.
Yeah,
so whereabouts in Toronto are you? I presume you're in
the
GTA.
Sorry, yeah, in the GTA. We're right
Yep.
downtown, King West.
Oh, right. Yeah, you are right downtown.
Yeah.
That's a lovely place to be.
Yeah, we walk home from the games.
I was going to say, you must be, easily walking distance from the Rogers Centre. So have you done... So when you arrived, have you done all the touristy stuff? Did you get that out your system, or did you just want to, actually, I don't want to be like a tourist, I want to bed into the community and sort of get to know people as a Canadian?
Well, it's funny because my mum's Canadian and has family and friends here. We came so much when I was a kid. We would come when I was really young, probably every summer or every other summer, and stay with family friends up in North York area.
Right.
And I'd never really been downtown, which was funny. And so just before moving here, I sort of said, I reached out to my cousin, what's a cool place to live? And my mum said, Young and Eglinton. And my cousin said, no, Young and Eglinton was a cool place to live 10 years ago. You want to be West Queen West and all that area. So near Trinity Bellwoods Park, I don't know if you know it, which is gorgeous.
Yes.
In the West End. So I followed my cousin's advice and ended up in that area, and it was lovely. But yeah, I'd been to Canada 1,000 times, but I'd never been downtown. And I distinctly remember I'd also never been to a game. And mum and dad went every time we came, probably. And me and Kristen, my family friend, would get left at home with a babysitter. And it used to enrage me because I really wanted to go and I was never able to go. So I actually turned 30 just before I moved here. Right. And my brother got me Jay's tickets for my 30th. So I guess a week or two after I got here, I went to my first Jays game.
Fantastic. So are you a sporty girl? Did you do sports here in the UK?
Yeah, so I'm a huge sports fan, and that's kind of the crux of this, I think, which was I shared an Arsenal season ticket before I moved. It was one of the hardest things.
Arsenal?
Yes, sorry, I know you're Bournemouth.
Yeah, off.
There's a reason I kept that to myself.
Yeah.
No, but it was one of the hardest decisions about leaving. So I'd only just started going to games regularly in like 2011, I think, and just got completely sucked into that every other week, waking up, and there's no feeling like it. And I had my group, who again were friends of friends, a group of bankers actually from the city, and they had like 10, 15 season tickets between them. And so I got to go every week. And one of the hardest decisions about moving was, can I give this up? Because this is a way of life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I loved it. And so I love sport. And so it wasn't going to take long to get stuck into North American sports. And that's one of the things I really want to talk about today, I think, which I think is so interesting, is the difference between the UK sports fan and the North American sports fan, and the pros and cons of each, I suppose. Yeah,
no, absolutely. I've only been to, just to tell on Arsenal, I've been to Highbury. I haven't been to the Emirates. So, and my sister-in-law, it was her 18th birthday, so we got her ticket. She was a fairly nominal Arsenal supporter, and so we managed to get tickets to go Highbury. And it was on one of the occasions where the London Underground packed up, in terms of it went wrong on that day of the match, and so the whole thing came grinding to a halt, and we were midway through a tube stops, lights all go out, battery lights come on, and we sit there for about 10 minutes, quarter of an hour, not going anywhere. And slowly the tube just ground its way up to the next station. Apparently they'd had a massive power failure across the network. And so literally the whole of the underground came to a grinding halt. So we were all kicked off the tube. And of course, you know what it's like, well, you're probably better than the rest of us, you know, as a person who doesn't go to London that often, you can understand the tube map until you actually have to come up above ground in a different place to where you're expecting to be, and suddenly you just feel all at sea. And this would have been pre-mobiles in terms of Google Maps and stuff. So we came up at this station. I can't remember which one it was now. I hadn't got a clue where we were.
No idea.
And literally tens of thousands of people are coming off the tube network. Couldn't get a taxi, couldn't get a bus. And in the end, we had to abandon our trip to Highbury. So
You're kidding?
No, yeah, just didn't get there. Couldn't get across London. So I wrote to Arsenal. So this is credit to them. I wrote to them and said, look, we were coming up for her birthday. We couldn't get there. I know it's not your fault, blah, blah, blah. And so they wrote back this really nice letter and said, not a problem. We'll give you complimentary tickets to another game. What would you like to come and see? Tell us which match. And so we managed to finally go to another game at Highbury. But yeah, so credit to Arsenal.
Class, Steve,
yeah,
pure class.
Yeah,
what would you expect?
Yeah. So when you came, let's go back to your sporting love then. So when you came into Canada, had you followed any North American sports at all while you were here in the UK?
No, not at all. I'm just trying to think. No. So the interesting thing, this is strange, and is a big reason I think why I so quickly got into the Jays. There is in London an advertising softball league.
Right.
I don't know why. Maybe because a lot of the agencies have their roots in the States, but no one in England plays softball. But there was an advertising softball league, and my agency took part in the softball league. So I played, and it was hilarious. And as you guys would all know, we all grew up playing rounders.
Sure.
And the president of my company happened to be Canadian. And so he fielded this team and got us all playing. And, you know, it was the producer and the copywriter, and we were all there playing. And he would go mad because we'd hit the ball and we'd take the bat with us, because that's what you have to do in rounders. And then you'd get to your base and everyone would just go for a wander, because that's what you can do in rounders. As long as you're safe, you're safe. And we were forever being tagged out. And I remember Darren, his name was, just screaming at us like, stay on your base, stop wandering about. But from I guess one season of playing softball, I knew the rules enough, because they're so similar, that when I came and watched my first baseball game, I got it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I hadn't have done that, I don't know if it would have been as easy to get into.
Yeah. And was
without knowing the rules.
Yeah. And was it the Jays that was the thing that caught you first? I mean, obviously Toronto, massive sports city, basketball, hockey.
Oh yeah.
Certainly perhaps in the other order. Hockey probably primary and basketball behind that. But was it always baseball that you were drawn to, or do you like going thing all three?
Baseball, I'd had like Jays hats and Jays sweaters and stuff as a kid, so I knew who the Jays were. Mum and Dad brought a ball back from a game once, and so I'd always wanted to go. And then I think I went to the game and got into it and knew the rules enough and was hooked. And obviously we'll talk more about like the game day experience, but it's special. Obviously I went to, as a sports fan, I wanted to experience all of it. So I went to a Leafs game. The tough thing about the Leafs is it's really hard to follow the puck.
Yeah.
When you're new
so
and you're
fast.
watching, you're just like, what is going on? It's so fast. And I don't have any idea of the rules. And it makes it quite hard to watch. And then the Raptors, the Raptors were bad when I got here. And then obviously we won the NBA final. And so there was a big Raptors buzz. And to this day, I can still get excited about playoff basketball, but it's hard to watch week in, week out. Someone said to me once, you don't need to watch anything other than the last quarter in basketball. And it kind of ruined it for me. And I can't get over that now. And it's true.
Well,
and I don't know why. Why is that a thing? But it's a thing.
Yeah, I guess that's like most sports, isn't it? You could argue that you don't have to watch the last couple of innings in baseball for it, because that's the meaningful end of the game, isn't it? But I think with basketball, it's probably out of the 4 American sports, the one that I'm least connected with. So it was great to see the Raptors do what they did, and to see the Nathan Phillips Square and stuff, and just literally thousands of people filling the streets when they won.
That was a good night.
That was fab to see. But in
We
terms
all got
of
the day off work the next day.
I bet
Everyone did, because it was just all night.
It was mental, wasn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
how many people did they estimate went to that?
I don't know. I mean, I was in a bar downtown and you couldn't move for cars, and it was unreal.
Yeah, it was just tens of thousands of people, wasn't it? It was such, and I think obviously Toronto has a bit of a stigma, doesn't it, in terms of it's not that successful sporting wise. There seems to be a lot of disappointment. I think Toronto is probably a little bit cynical in terms of its sports sometimes, and just our teams aren't going to get there. Obviously, the Maple Leafs have been there or thereabouts, but never quite getting across the line for so long now. I think it's one of the longest franchise. Yeah. It's, what is it like amongst Toronto sports fans as you go to work and you catch up with your friends and stuff? Are they super positive, half full or half glass empty types?
Just in general, I mean, everyone has their sport, right? So someone who is into the Leafs won't necessarily be that bothered about what the Jays are doing, or certainly not to talk about it all the time. So there's a bit of that. But then also the other thing that's so different from the UK is that, baseball, the Jays are Canada's team.
Yeah.
It's the only team in Canada. And so we don't get to experience in England that level of support where everyone around you is going for the same side. And hockey is obviously a bit different because there's 7 Canadian teams, I think. But even then, you're in Toronto, and for the most part, everyone is supporting the Leafs, and you just don't get. I'm certainly not in London, where there's 4 or 5 in the Premier League right now, 8 to 10 clubs in total. Like it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So that's kind of really exciting that everyone's on the same page, and whenever any of the Toronto teams are doing well, people are behind them, and it's infectious. You can't help it. But I'd say with the Leafs particularly, there's cynicism, and people they love them, but they hate them. Yeah.
Well, it's just one of those frustrating things. When we came on one of our trips, we tried to get tickets to go and see the Leafs because we thought it'd be fun to do, but just no chance. And when we looked at it, the cost as well is so expensive. We did actually go. Yeah, we did actually go and see the Bruins because on our trip we went from Toronto and drove across to Boston, so we got to see the Red Sox play as well, and saw the Bruins play. So it was fun to have the game day experience of ice hockey, and as you say, trying to keep up with the puck was just unbelievably fast.
Also, Steve, you can't call it ice hockey. That's very English. Yeah, constantly get told it's hockey.
Hockey.
Yeah. You've got to drop the ice thing.
Yeah.
Because we play field hockey apparently.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I've heard that.
But next time you're in town, the Marlies are quite good to watch. Yes, and they're the Leafs fielding team and field team. Yeah.
No, friends of ours, they live just off Lakeshore, which is sort of behind the Marlies' home ground. So I've been into the stadium.
Right there.
Sorry, say again.
That's where I live, right there. Just
is it?
No,
very nice. Yeah. So it's fun. It's fun watching these other sports, but we're here to talk about baseball.
Yeah.
And your love for the Jays. So you've landed in Canada. How long was it before you went to your first Jays game?
It was about 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks. My brother bought me tickets for my 30th. I'd never been before. I just looked it up actually before signing on. I think it was like June 29th, and we played the Yankees on a Monday night. And I have absolutely no idea if we won or not. I don't know. But I do remember getting a foot-long hot dog.
Oh, well done.
And that was the first and last time I made that mistake. Yeah. But yeah, no, it was good. And I wouldn't say I was hooked from the first time I was there. I was bewildered, to be honest.
Yeah.
That first time. And, coming from the UK and how we experience a game day, then to this, which at the time I called it a circus. It's like it's an entertainment show.
Yeah.
The game itself and the sport you've gone to watch is almost secondary to all the stuff that's going on around it, whether it's kiss cams or, halftime contests where people are, playing cornhole to win something. Like, I was just like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And then the whole place standing up and dancing at the seventh inning. I was just like, this is awful.
Yeah.
And then I realized, like, but that's because I'm a cynical Brit.
Yeah.
And we brought, football particularly, but we're in a world where, bravado and macho-ness and even violence is somewhat celebrated, and, hating the opposition so much that you can't possibly exist next to each other. And I realize rugby's not like that, but, football was my sport and certainly the biggest. And the difference is just unreal. And it makes me laugh to think about, half time at the Emirates and getting everyone to stand up and shake it off a bit. It's so funny. So yeah, to start with, I was bewildered.
Bit of a culture shock.
Yeah.
It is. And how did you cope with the, when you go to see a football game, it's 90 minutes, it's fast paced, it's, it's end to end, it doesn't stop, beyond an injury or so. How did you cope with the sort of whole, because baseball's obviously had a lot of criticism in terms of it's a slow game anyway, but as you say, it's got all this mix of other stuff that's going on, and the change of innings and pitches coming out and pitches going in, and that takes time. And what was that? Did you find the game a little slow when you first saw it?
Well, so the first thing is, we were like an hour late, and I was freaking out because like these were really good seats. We were, I don't know, 114 or something.
Oh, nice.
And they were expensive. And I was like, I went with my brother's cousin, very confusing, Canadian, from the city, and I met him after work. And he was like, relax, it's fine. We'll just go in a bit. We'll finish our drink. Let's get another drink. And I was like, what? Let's go.
Yeah.
And obviously now I know that, I think because it's such a long game, everyone's late all of the time. You just you regularly see people rock up for an hour or so and then leave.
Sure.
But I guess particularly with there's so many games. So that was the first thing. So I don't remember it being that long because I think we were so late. And then, it's you go and get a drink and you have some food and you just chat and you have another drink and another drink and another drink. And that's the enjoyment of it. So that was my first I was rabbit in the headlights. But from there, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but through 2015, I guess, I went weekly whenever I felt like it. And that's when I started to realize this is just something to do. Some people go and sit in a park. I'm going to go and sit at a Jays game.
Yeah.
And if the weather was nice and the roof was open, you'd call around and say, who wants to go to the game?
Yeah.
And you'd go down and if you couldn't get tickets online, get them from a friend or get them from a scalper outside in the 500s and just sit in the sunshine and half watch the game and chat to your friends.
It is totally that. On the occasions that we've been, I think we've always sat around people that clearly are going a lot and doing exactly that. It's a bit of a place to catch up with your mates. Well, there's a game on in the background, as it were, but we can have a beer, we can get a bit of a suntan, just unwind from the day at work or whatever they're coming from. And I think I always feel such a tourist when I'm going. Like, I want to absorb every moment, and because I'm not here that often, and I want to be there early. I want to get there, just if we get a foul ball during batting practice or whatever. And these guys are just like, well, whatever, let's go for a beer, sit in the bar, perhaps go out by inning 3 or 4 or something when things start to. It's just totally different, isn't it?
Totally different. And like that's what's magic about it. Like, to your point, if you look around and you see all the people around you, there'll be an older couple next to you with their pen and pencils filling in all the stats, who have obviously been coming for years. You'll have a group of 8 young guys who are half watching and just enjoying the game and there to drink and maybe a bit of heckling and stuff. You'll see a family who it's a big day out for the kids and they came early and they did get to see their favorite player and sign something, and getting up for all the dancing, trying to get on TV. It's just such a mosaic of different people all there for the same reason and just chilled out and enjoying the game. And then you'll have like occasionally rival fans in the row and there'll be some good-natured banter. And that's about it.
Such fun. And what's the interaction have you found with visiting fans? Because when I've been there, it's it's nothing like football generally. No. I think the only time would be perhaps, because you said you went to the Yankees the first time, or the Yankees were visiting. I think they seem to be the one team, obviously, that most people like to hate, and it's a bit more chirpy when they're playing. but I think generally on the other teams that I've seen, it's been just such good natured. Fans are talking to fans, talking about their players. It's been good stuff. I mean, has that been your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny actually, because the other kind of penny drop was that generally you don't get away fans. And you don't realise that. So whether I also follow TFC, Toronto FC, but you don't go to away games because they're so far.
Yeah.
And you'd be travelling all over the States for, 8-9 hour flights. So yeah, the away fans is a thing. We actually went to see the Jays against the Cubs in Chicago 2017.
Right.
And that hasn't happened in a while. I think we're playing the Cubs this year, but it's at the Rogers Centre. But it hadn't happened for a while by all accounts, and I wanted to go because I had a soft spot for the Cubs. They obviously won. I think I have a soft spot for them because I love Bill Murray, who is famously a
of course.
Cubs fan.
Yeah.
It's a really famous field, Wrigley Field, and happened that Toronto FC were also playing Chicago Fire the same weekend. So we get to Chicago, and you might as well have been in Toronto. There are just Blue Jays shirts everywhere.
There was a mass exodus, wasn't there?
I've never seen anything like it. We got swept as well, but the game, there were no Cubs fans. It was all Jays.
Amazing.
The entire place. Yeah,
I remember a lot of, just seeing on Twitter and other social media in terms of how many Jays fans were there. And it was disappointing that, we got swept for all those games. But I think if you want to go anywhere to watch baseball in terms of the history, clearly Fenway, and which obviously happens regularly, but Wrigley is definitely a go-to, isn't it? It's not the greatest ballpark to actually watch baseball in, I don't think. Quite uncomfortable. The views aren't as good, obviously. But in terms of the experience, definitely and a historic place to go to.
And all the buildings around it have seating rows on their roofs.
I know, it's mad, isn't it?
It's mad, yeah. And then there's this big bar thing that was open when we came out, and it was an early game, so it was probably 3 or 4 o'clock, and it was full rager happening in this, I can't remember what it was called, but this club basically right outside the ground. It was wild.
So different from I can't imagine us ever having buildings with seats on the top of them. I mean, I can remember when I first went to a cricket game at the Oval in the mid 80s, sort of the height of Ian Botham and Viv Richards and so on. It was England against West Indies, and there's a set of block of flats that go around the outside of the Oval, Kennington Oval. And I remember sort of people hanging off balconies and all that sort of stuff. But I don't think we'd ever get to the point where we would, come on, let's make an opportunity here and stick some seats up there and just it's bonkers. But that's the culture of, America / Canada in terms of North American sport. Is very, very different to what you and I have grown up with. But I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, same.
So game day experience was positive. Going through then, that's 2014 when you first arrived. Obviously, you were just coming in on the crest of a wave that was about to grow over the next couple of seasons. How was that?
Oblivious to it, obviously. Yeah, I mean, I was oblivious to it. My cousin and I went for something to do any weekend we felt like it. And we just got used to going, and it was fun. And then, so 2015, that would have been 2015. Obviously, we get through to the playoffs, and I don't really know what's going on, but I'm going to throw my hat in the ring to try and get some playoff tickets. So it was the usual kind of Ticketmaster gong show where you're just in and it's a lottery and you'll get what you get. And I came out with Game 5 tickets. And I was like, I'm going to the playoffs. And I called my cousin. I said, we're going to the playoffs. I've got Game 5 tickets. And then I'm at work the next day talking about how I got these tickets. And everyone's like, you might not even get to go. There may not even be a Game 5. And I was like, what? What do you mean? Yeah. And someone then had to explain the playoff system to me, which I don't know. I don't know if I agree with it, to be honest. And I'm sure we can talk about that. But is that the right way to do it?
Yeah.
Multiple games and a whole series and 5 to start with, but then it gets to 7. Is that really how you decide a playoff? I don't know. But yeah, so then by this point I've been told probably wouldn't get to go, and we watched the first 4 games from the bar. And again, so this is the first time I experienced everyone is supporting the Jays, and every time there's a playoff game, everyone's in, and they're pretty quick in succession. And honestly, it's exhausting. Because you've got normal life, you've got work, you've got, you know, whatever other responsibilities you have, and then suddenly there's playoff games a couple of times a week that you have to go out for and you have to watch.
Sure.
And it takes up your entire life for the period that's happening. And then obviously we were 2-0 down, and so I guess, you know, we're probably not going to get game 5. And then lo and behold, it's 2-2 and game 5 is on.
I had no idea you'd been to that game. It's the first time. I don't think you've ever mentioned that. That's amazing.
So we had the worst seats in the house.
Okay. There aren't any bad seats, surely.
Yes, no, Steve, there are. You're going to laugh at this. I'm surprised they even sell these seats. So you know where the hotel is and the Jumbotron?
Yeah.
The hotel has a wall that juts out into the stadium, and along that wall is a row of seats, and they go from like 5 to 3 to 2 to 1 1 1 1, and you're running along the side of the hotel. You can't see the outfield. You can't see the screen.
No, you also can't see the screen because you're behind it. Yeah,
you can't see, and you can't see what's happening in the outfield. So
yes.
It's miracle. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, we were there, but we couldn't see what was going on.
So which side? Which side were you? Left field or right field?
Right field.
So you were right. I'm just thinking where Jose hit the ball out would have been on the opposite side of the field to where you were.
Yeah, but you could see from his reaction that it had gone out, and you could hear and
Sure.
But it was funny because so we couldn't see anything. We didn't really know what was going on, but the atmosphere was electric, as you can imagine. And then the 7th, that call happened, and I've watched the highlights in the game back like maybe 100 times. 10 of those were the week after the game. But what was interesting was when you were in the ballpark, like you had no idea what was going on. There was no commentary. And so when you watch it back and you hear the commentators talking about like why this play might have been out and it hit the bat and what they're thinking, you can kind of But when you were in the park, you had no idea what was going on. And that's when the beer cans and the bottles started raining down.
Yeah. It was crazy.
And so we're right at the very, very top, and the crowd had gone from happy to very, very angry. There was a lot of tension in a second, and I turned to my cousin and I said, I think we need to leave. And she's like, we're in Canada, we don't need to leave. And I was like, oh yeah, because had that happened in the UK or at a football game, you would need to leave. Yeah. There would have been an instability about it, but here in Toronto, it wasn't nice, but we were safe.
Sure.
So we stayed.
And you were sitting at the top where you weren't going to get a can of beer on your head. So from that perspective,
no, and we weren't throwing them either.
No, well, that's very good to hear.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, model fans. But yeah, it was as you say, watching it on the TV as we were, it was a crazy 7th inning, of course, and I think it wasn't so much the throw back from Russell Martin. And when it hit Chu's bat, it was, I think it was more the errors that Texas made in that inning as well, which, in terms of when we came back into bat, I was just like, how is this game is just so mad, routine plays that you'd expect them to make, I don't know, 999 times out of 1,000.
Bizarre. Like three unforced, like significant errors. I remember the first one was the second base. Like it was just, it was, I guess the situation had rattled them, and it just goes to show.
Yeah. Everybody.
Then I think the benches cleared twice in that innings as well.
Yeah.
As Encarnacion was trying to calm the crowd down.
Yeah. Well, it was
pitcher, what's his name? Dyson.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just, it was a mad inning. So when Jose comes up, I mean, is there an anticipation in the crowd that he's going to do something here? I mean, or is it vain hope? Where did you feel people were at when?
So our bases, they weren't loaded, but they had just been loaded.
They had, yeah.
And so as soon as you're at that point in a game anyway, there's a different vibe. Like when you have, but when bases are loaded or close to being loaded, there's the whole atmosphere and the hope changes. And so then when you have your biggest hitter up, it feels good. But the way that the game had gone, like who knew? I've got goosebumps just thinking about it because it was absolutely wild. Yeah. And when you can hear, like when someone hits it, you know immediately if that's a homer.
Yeah.
It just sounds different. And off it went, and that was it. People just went nuts. It was pretty special. I'd been at Wembley the year before watching Arsenal win the FA Cup.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was at the semi-final as well that same year where we beat Wigan on penalties, and that was my biggest sporting occasion. And obviously the first time Arsenal had won a trophy in a long time, but certainly the first time I'd been, following intently and going to games, and we won something, and that was incredible. And that was celebrating, around Wembley and then around Highbury, all night. And this was better.
Yeah.
This was like an atmosphere that I had just never experienced before. It will be probably my most amazing sporting event ever.
Well, I can't certainly remember. I mean, obviously I haven't been to as much stuff as you, but I can't remember watching something where I felt so, at one point, so sick of what happened. I thought, okay, we can't lose on this, to the elation of it going out and then suddenly going ahead. And then, of course, you've still got to get through the 8th and 9th innings, which is not an easy task. And it's not a done deal. It's not like a penalty shootout. The final ball goes in the net and everybody's won. This was just a moment in the game. And there's still a lot of the game to play out and get through and navigate and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it was an extraordinary thing. Did you get to much of the 2016 postseason stuff?
Yeah, so after that, I bought a season ticket.
Right.
Or bought into a season ticket, because obviously there's so many games that people kind of routinely share them. So I think I was one of 4 people that shared a couple of season seats. So we went a ton in 2016. I don't remember going to playoffs. I feel like I might have been away. Maybe I did. I don't know.
We may have been in the same game. You never know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were there in 2016. So not in the playoffs, but in the regular season that we came over. So you never know. We might have been in the ballpark together.
Yeah, probably.
Nice.
But yeah, the 2016 didn't stand out, but we did get through, and I remember all the hope. But we beat Rangers, and I remember that because I was like, the old rivals are back.
Yeah,
we turned them over easily.
But it was the wild card game that particular year, wasn't it? When Edwin knocked it out, that was the big moment. And I think again, it was now or never with that team. That they were an aging team, that contracts were coming to a close. It was they had to do it then, or it wasn't going to happen. And of course, as we now know, it didn't happen. And the rest is history, as they say. Pretty fallow years in terms of the following sort of through until, I guess, the pandemic year was really the first time we started to see some new stuff. So what was it like? What was it like being in Canada with the loss of your team not playing at home? How has that affected the city?
Honestly, Steve, like the last 2 years have been so topsy-turvy. I don't know whether I'm coming or going, and I think everyone kind of feels the same. So, sport was all we had. Well, for a while there was no sport.
Sure.
And then it became the thing that kind of kept you going. So we've had much more aggressive lockdowns here than you guys had in the UK. So last year we were locked down for like 6 months, I think, the longest in the world. So sport was just such a welcome distraction and something that you could get behind. But we weren't going to games. We wouldn't have been able to go to games even if they were here. And I appreciate that it put the team at a disadvantage, having to play the first half of the season in Dunedin and then Buffalo, but it wasn't top of my things to be worrying about the last 2 years, to be honest.
No, of course.
But it was great when they were back, and the Jays was the first time that I went and was surrounded by people in 2 years. So when we went to the game, there were no like empty seats. Your masks, sure, you had to wear them when you're walking around, but because you're eating and drinking in your seats, you didn't. And I was touching the person next to me, and that was very, very weird.
Yeah.
And I think the roof was open no matter what. That was the only way it was allowed to happen.
Yeah.
But it really bucked the trend of every single other piece of advice or rule or regulation here. I'm not really sure why. But so it was strange. Yeah.
Did you go to the homecoming game when that happened?
No.
No, because
So-
that was a big moment for them, wasn't it? And I've talked before with other people that you could just see the emotion on the players' faces as they came into the ballpark, and actually,
and the crowd was just
yeah,
like,
yeah,
and that's when we started playing well as well. So it kind of goes to show what a difference the home advantage makes.
yeah, no, absolutely. And this year, of course, when they do obviously come back from spring training, as far as I'm aware, it's full capacity back at Rogers Centre. They're all guns blazing, ready to roll. But of course, the vaccination rules coming into Canada is going to impact some of the other teams, and I think there's been a bit of rumblings around. Certainly, in the Yankees camp, I saw something the other day about Aaron Judge and his not outright comments, but you read between the lines what he's saying. But we've lived out a suitcase for the last 2 years, so.
Exactly. I also think our team is affected because the last thing I read, I think Bo Bichette's not vaccinated and isn't planning to be. So I don't know what that means.
Oh, I hadn't heard that. I knew early days. I knew early days that he sort of seemed to hold that position, but I had assumed that because of the vaccination policy that they would have all got it done, and
maybe just that was the last thing I heard about it, and I was like, ooh.
Yeah,
because it wouldn't surprise me. It's just such a different COVID culture here from elsewhere. It's a tough call. It's a really tough call.
Yeah.
Because then the other thing is if we do really well and half other teams haven't been able to travel, is it the asterisks? Like
I know I've not said that to anybody yet, but that's been in the back of my mind is that if we do go all the way this year, everybody will start saying, well, that's because. I thought, well, let's see where we go. So how are you feeling about 2022 as a side?
Really good. Really, really good. You probably saw the Guerrera quote about you saw the trailer last year and this time's the movie. And I think there's a buzz about this team. There's a youth about the team, which is also interesting because I'm watching Arsenal come off a really dry patch and suddenly stuff's clicking. And again, like we have the youngest team in the league.
Yeah.
So youth is the theme of 2022, and we're seeing that with the Blue Jays, and it's really, really exciting. I feel like there's still a few gaps.
Okay.
In the team, like I said to you, I'm not a hardcore stats and names and like you guys, but as far as I can tell, when you look at like all the Facebook group, and I know everyone knows everything about the Jays, and just pretty well. Kind of naive understanding of it all, it looks like there might be a few gaps to plug or a few more people that need to come in to really round out the team. But
I think obviously this week in terms of Matt Chapman arriving, that's been a big signing for them. He's playing his first spring game in about at this point of recording. Shortly in about a couple of hours time. So it'd be good to see him up in the team. And I think that third base position was, I think, one of the weaknesses that they had with the core that's coming back. I think because we've got such a young team that were predominantly there last year, and most of them are back again. I'm really optimistic about where we're going to go. I think for me, the one area that they seem to be, I think, need to still do a bit of work on is they're very right-handed dominant, and I think that we need a couple of lefties in terms of batting in the lineup.
This is where I'm like, I have no idea.
Yeah, so that was the thing where Ramirez, where he's left-handed, so it's just trying to find people that would come in, would do a good job in terms of defensively. Second, third base was the weaknesses. Well, they've got Chapman. He's going to be great at third base, but he's right-handed again, and so I think that's one of the things I think they're going to think about. But there's plenty of time.
Do you think we will see more people come in?
Yeah. Good. I think undoubtedly. I think for me, this front office have definitely got the bit between their teeth. They've always talked about the progress that they needed to make, and I think after the sort of 2015-16 seasons, it was a dismantling of the team, getting those big contracts off the books, and then starting to work with that sort of young team coming through from Buffalo. And getting those core guys in, making a few moves as they went along, and I think we're now starting to see the dividends of that progression. But it's taken a while to go, and I think this thing with any sport is you'll be saying with Arsenal is that it ebbs and flows. There are seasons where a team is dominant. You think of Man United, how dominant they were through the 90s with that young squad, sadly. But they just won everything, didn't they? And now look where they are now. It's, you know, it's nothing, you know, anything like that they used to be. And you think
it's funny you compare it, because it's another one of the big differences between like European sport and American sport, which is that like we are kind of founded on capitalism in Europe, and you know, you have relegations and, you know, all this stuff that, whereas here it's pretty much an even playing field, and you rarely see anyone dominate the way that you can see people dominate in Europe, because there's stuff that like protects against it, and drafts and all that kind of thing. It's really interesting. It's just an interesting comparison as you talk about the young team and how we've rebuilt, and then compare it to United. I just don't think you'll ever see that kind of dominance in baseball and in sport in North America generally.
No, I think that's very true. So yeah, in terms of the difference between, you know, British sport and American sport, the whole relegation and promotion thing, of course, is not there. How does that work out in your mind? I mean, clearly, like the Orioles are bottom of the AL East, they will be there for a long time, and yet they're just there every year. Do you miss that sort of side of the North American sport?
I miss it more in football and in the MLS than I do in baseball, because obviously it was never there. But I just the whole setup of American sports and of baseball is so strange to me, and I still haven't really wrapped my head around like the American League versus the National League, and then how you randomly play, like the Cubs, you get to play them sometimes and other times you don't. Like it just doesn't feel like a completely even playing field to start with, which just naturally says it's a different type of competition, if that makes sense. So you don't miss it would be terrible if you got relegated off the back of something that was judged to be really uneven. And then you think about like Fenway, and I can't wrap my head around, like, isn't it a disadvantage for that to be your home? Because like it's so hard to get a home run. I don't know.
Well, I guess, I suppose with the Green Monster, it's there to try and replicate the odd shape of the ballpark. As when I was talking to Bob Ballard, and he was talking about his visit to Fenway, and I said, you know, because it's and it would be the same with Wrigley. It's, you know, it's a ballpark that's in the middle of housing. It feels like everything's sort of grown up around it, and it's just sort of been squeezed into whatever space they had. Unlike a lot of the North American sports stadia, which are in the middle of nowhere and massive concrete, and even Rogers Centre, to be honest, was a brand new park, and it is what it is. But yeah, I think Fenway is a uniquely different one because of the factor of the Green Monster. But it's great. It's a great place to watch baseball, I have to say. I did enjoy not being. Oh, you're going to have to make that trip.
Yeah. And it's not far.
No, it's not. No. And if you ever get the chance to go to Cooperstown, which is the Baseball Hall of Fame, we did that on our trip when we drove from Toronto to Boston. It's about halfway between the two, so it's a good stop-off point overnight. Go and have a look around the museum. So that is definitely worth going.
Definitely.
So we'll get it online now. Predictions for this year. Where do you feel? We're going to
playoffs? Definitely. Postseason. Yep. I think we're good. Beyond that, like, who knows? And that's why I'm saying it just seems to be such a crapshoot every year.
Yeah,
it's really hard to say. I'm trying to think as well, like what I've read about other teams who have signed people, and I don't know.
I think the Mets looking pretty good from a National League perspective. Dodgers are going to be strong always. I think in our league,
did Donaldson go to the Yankees?
He has. Yeah,
that makes me feel
a bit sick. Yeah, I just saw some photos of him this week, and he's completely clean shaven, and he just looks so different. But yeah, that's because he got a lovely reception when he came back, when he was with the Twins.
As he would.
I don't think he's going to get the same coming back with the Yankees. I think they won't welcome him with open arms, but we shall see. But yeah, I was disappointed. It's always disappointing anybody going to the Yankees, quite frankly, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's like going to Tottenham, isn't it? Surely it's that comparison.
Exactly. But yeah, no, it's going to be an exciting season. It's one that it's got a buzz around it. People feel good. I'm excited.
Great.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to do some live reporting for us from the dome when you get to go to some games. Chuck some stuff out. We'll ping it out to everybody. It'd be lovely to see what's going on in the ground.
If I happen to get any giveaways, I'll be sure to share, but I'm never there on time, so I never get them.
That's not the answer we are looking for.
Sorry. I'll be better.
Yes, absolutely. We'll pay you well. Right. Okay, we're coming to the end. Been brilliant talking with you. Love all your stories. So it's fantastic just to get to know you a little bit better and to hear all that you're doing and excitement for this year. As I've done with everybody else, I'm going to go through our top 10 questions just to see where you land with these.
Okay.
So don't need to think about it too hard, but so your favorite player from last season?
Vladdy.
Yeah,
it's got to be Vladdy.
Vladdy. Okay, very good. Favorite Jays player of all time? I know your window is probably reasonably short.
You're going to laugh at this. This is probably not the right answer, but it's just the truth. Kawasaki.
Yes, Kawasaki is great.
The happiest guy, a fan favorite. Loved him and loved him then when he went to Chicago as well.
Yeah,
he was a special person, and he exemplified the Jays and what it's like to be a Jays fan. I just loved him.
Yeah, and he was somebody in terms of his profile. He wasn't a core player, very much a utility player, but suddenly in his interviews with Barry Davis, who we spoke to a few weeks ago, just came alive, didn't he? And it was joyous. And then of course Joe Biagini not far up after him, who also had a sort of similar style, and it's great to see him back being signed again by the Jays this season. So okay, great. Kawasaki, favorite Jays player, good. Favorite non-Jays player? Have you got anybody that you've seen that you think, do you know what, be great to have them on our team?
No, I can only think of other players who I don't like.
Yeah, that's the trouble, isn't it, with other teams? I am very one team dominated in my thinking. So a lot of people say, "Oh, do you watch other baseball games?" I have to say I don't. I tend to just.
There's not enough time.
No, there isn't.
How could you do that?
Yeah. Okay, so that's fine. Don't worry about that one. Favorite ballpark away from Rogers Centre?
Wrigley Field, and mainly because it's only one of 3 that I've ever been to, but it's special, and I love Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago's a fantastic city, isn't it? Yeah, I love it. I love it there as well. Yeah, well, you've mentioned your foot-long hot dog, but what would your normal baseball food be?
Non-foot-long hot dog, the normal size one.
Okay.
Getting the foot-long is a rookie error. The normal size one is more than enough, and I've also over the years managed to manage my sauce to hot dog ratio so I don't end up wearing it for the rest of the game. It's a skill.
Clearly, well done. Yeah. And what beverage would you have with your hot dog?
Always cider, which actually is a new thing. They didn't used to have cider, but they have for the last 4 years maybe. Okay,
cider drinker, eh?
Yeah.
You come down from our way. It's we are cider country around here. It's
having a renaissance here as well.
Is it?
Well, not even a renaissance. I don't think anyone drank it before. It's a hot drink right now.
All right. Okay. Good stuff. Day game, night game.
Day.
Why?
Sun. Sitting in the sun. That's what it's about. That's why we go to soak up the rays, have a few beers, have a hot dog, and watch the game.
Very good. Excellent. We like day games here as well, but for a completely different reason. Favorite Jays jersey color?
Blue. I like all the classic.
The blue that you've got on. Yeah.
Yes. The classic. Yeah.
Very good. Excellent. And your favorite jersey number on the back of your jersey? What would you
I have no idea. I would go for 6 because that's my lucky number, but I don't know who wears it.
6. I'm just trying to wrap my brain.
I could go 66 because that was Kawasaki.
Yeah.
He wore 66.
Yeah. 6. There is somebody who. Oh, who was it? Who wore 6? Anyway, because central defender number as well. Is that a bit of a footballing?
It's literally just my lucky number.
Just your lucky number. Okay, well, that's good enough. And finally, roof open, roof closed.
Sorry. Oh, roof open or roof closed? Roof open.
Roof
We
open.
would actually not go if the roof was closed a lot of the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. This one really seems to split people.
Really? Not here.
Yeah. Well, people I've spoken to, so yesterday when I was recording with Bob, he loved it when it was closed because he says it just generates a much better atmosphere. So if you think back to Jose in terms of the noise and what have you, that was just amplified because of the fact that the dome was closed. Whereas for me, I love watching the Jays with the roof open, CN Tower, whether it be day or night game, don't mind. It's just, I think baseball is meant to be played outside. You know,
Exactly.
It's an outdoor game. It's a summer game. I personally would go with roof open. So, yeah.
And you can see the people doing the edge walk at the top of the
yes,
CN
of course.
Tower, which
Have you done that?
absolutely not. But I like watching other people do it, and you see them leaning over in their little red suit. And there's a condo that you can see that I think he may have moved, but there did used to be a guy who was out there every single game with his Jays flag.
Yeah.
And he'd often get picked up by the TV network as well.
Yeah. No, I think he was there when certainly the last game I saw was back in 2018. So it's been a little.
He
while
would have been
since
there.
Yeah. I seem to remember him being there.
Yeah.
Jenni, thank you so much for your time. It's been real fun talking to you. You've brought lots of stories, and I love your enthusiasm for the team and how you've just embraced everything that you've done since you've arrived in Canada. And I know this one will go down well with everybody, so we'll get it posted out and get people listening and finding out a little bit more about you. If they do want to get in touch, have you got some social handles that you want to give to us? Different places?
I'm on Facebook. It's Jenni.
Mainly on Facebook. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So go and find Jenni. If you're not in our Facebook group, if you just search up Blue Jays Fans UK, you can find us and put a request in, and we'll get you in the group, and you can come say hi to Jenni. So, guys, thank you so much. Oh, pleasure. No, pleasure.
Enjoy the game later.
We will. Guys, thank you so much for listening in today. Hope you've enjoyed that, and we'll catch you up very soon. Take care now. Bye-bye.
The Red, White, and Blue Jays podcast is a production of Blue Jays Fans UK. If you've got a Blue Jays story to share, let us know. Email us at bluejaysfansuk@gmail.com. And follow along on Twitter and Instagram at Blue Jays Fans UK. I'm your announcer, Jim Langton. Thanks for listening.